Ever feel like you've mastered a language only to get lost when you hear a regional dialect? You're not alone. In this episode, we explore how understanding dialects can take your language learning to the next level. I'll share my own story of being thrown into the deep end with Bavarian dialect during a Christmas comedy show and how I learned to navigate it. Tune in to find out how mastering standard German can be your secret weapon for unlocking regional nuances and much more. Welcome back to Elevate, the podcast where we dive into the journey of language learning and share tips, stories, and strategies to help you succeed. Today, we're cracking the code between standard languages and dialects. Have you ever felt like you've just learned a language only to feel completely lost when someone speaks a regional dialect? Well, I certainly have. When I first started learning German, I poured myself into the standard version, what's often referred to as Hochdeutsch. After months of study, I was feeling pretty confident. I could understand conversations, hold my own, and even follow along with TV shows. But then, something happened. I visited Bavaria, one of Germany's most famous regions, home to cities like Munich and Regensburg. And suddenly, all my confidence crumbled. The German I was hearing didn't quite sound like the German I had learned. I could pick up on words here and there, but it felt like I was back to square one. You see, Bavaria has its own regional dialects, and they can differ even within the same state. There are three main dialects in Bavarian. Northern Bavarian, spoken mainly in the Upper Palatinate region. Central Bavarian, mostly spoken along the Isar and Danube rivers, and in Upper Bavaria, including Munich, also known as Oberbayerisch. Southern Bavarian, which is primarily spoken in the Tyrol region bordering Austria. What's fascinating is that within these dialects, such as Oberbayerisch, the language can change slightly every 10 kilometers within the regions. There isn't one correct way to speak Bavarian. All variations are considered correct in their own context. This concept of regional variability is not unique to Bavarian. You'll find similar phenomena in Italian and Austrian dialects, as well as English, where accents and expressions can vary significantly from one place to another. Despite these variations, about 90% of people in Bavaria today speak standard German, Hochdeutsch, especially in everyday life. However, it's mostly the older generations who speak full Bavarian dialect, and even then, it's mixed with standard German in many conversations. Just like every other region in Germany, there are variations in words and expressions. For example, a simple bread roll is called Semmel in Munich, but in other parts of Germany, you might hear Brotchen or Stulle. Now, let me share a funny experience I had one Christmas when I was in Bavaria. In Germany, the holidays are a time for family, tradition, and good fun. It's not uncommon for families to attend live comedy shows as part of the festive season. And that's exactly what I did. I was invited by a German family to attend a live comedy show during the Christmas holidays, a tradition they had every year. I was excited. I figured, hey, I've been learning German. How hard could this be? Well, it turns out the entire show was performed in Bayerisch, and I found myself completely lost in the language. The dialect was much heavier than what I had been learning in my standard German lessons. The pronunciation was different, and there were words I had never heard before. But here's the thing. Even though I couldn't catch every word, the actors were fantastic. They were expressive, lively, and their body language told half the story. From the context, the visual cues and the energy of the performance, I could sense when something was meant to be funny. So what did I do? I leaned into the experience. I laughed when others laughed, got immersed in the show, and let myself enjoy it for what it was. It was a fascinating reminder that language is more than just words. There's tone, movement, and context that can help you connect with what's happening, even if you don't understand every word being spoken. That night, I left the theater with a smile on my face, realizing that language learning is also about learning to feel the rhythm of the language, not just translating every word for word in your head. So what's the takeaway here? If you're learning a language, start with the standard version first. Mastering the basics gives you a foundation to build upon. Once you're comfortable, then it's time to explore dialects. It's like learning how to walk before you run. Without that solid footing, the nuances of dialects can feel overwhelming. And remember, dialects are not a separate language. They're part of the same system, just with regional twists. So once you get comfortable with the standard language, don't shy away from learning about the local variations. Whether you're planning to travel, work abroad, or even just enjoy regional TV shows or music, understanding dialects will give you that extra edge. In the next episode, we're diving deeper into how language learning can open doors in ways you might not expect. We'll talk about the real, sometimes surprising ways you can immerse yourself in a language, even when you're just getting started. If you're curious about taking your language skills beyond textbooks and classrooms, you won't want to miss what's coming up. Thanks for listening to Elevate. As always, feel free to share your own experiences with dialects by sending in your comments or voice notes. We'd love to feature your stories in an upcoming episode.